You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
Welcome. You are listening to watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, your host. Well, we got a bucket full of news to talk about today. Of course, the Fed raised its rate by 25 basis points as widely anticipated. They didn't let us down there, but obviously the rate of increases is diminishing. What does that mean? And then we get a monster jobs report, which basically I've come to realize that when I walk down the street, everyone I look around at is now an Uber or a Lyft driver because it's all part-time employment. How significant is it? Over 500,000 jobs. It seems bogus to me, but hey, the government never lies, right, Brad?
Yeah, that's right. They never lie to us. And I think from our standpoint, I know in Huntsville, Alabama, job market's still fairly strong because we're getting a lot of people moving in, but that's not the case all over the country. These states that are having people leave by the droves, there's going to be issues there. And our house prices are still strong, although with the interest rate rise that we've seen, the housing market has slowed quite a bit here. A year and a half ago, you could put your house on the market, have 5 bids, and be 50,000 over list by lunch. That's not the case anymore.
Mm-hmm. All right. So what are we supposed to make of it here? We heading for a recession? Are we in a recession? Or is all of that stuff just worry warts who really don't know what's happening?
You know, when you look at market cycles and, the stock market cycles, mm-hmm. It has periods, bull periods and bear periods. It takes about 30, 35 years to go through a full market cycle. And when we look at the anomaly that this COVID disaster presented, I don't know that it's going to be easy to predict because we had all those people that quit quietly. And now a lot of them I read last week are regretting it. So we have really some unusual things we got to work through right now that may be writing some new rules.
Mm-hmm. And so you think that the traditional measurements of economic prosperity or growth are kind of outdated here? Is that what you're kind of implying?
Say that is I would say they're muddied because we had, for example, people are going out to dinner like crazy here in town. And it's because they had all this pent up demand. They're having a hard time keeping workers at restaurants. But then again, that's not new. That's been around for a while. So the lower price labor market, there's still plenty of opportunities. What we're seeing here in town is a little slowdown at the top.
So
people aren't paying the kind of salaries they were a year ago.
Yeah. So what does that mean for the common person here? We in a recession or not? I mean, that's really the question here, right?
Yeah. And I can't answer that myself. All I can say is we've got a lot of pent up demand. That's where a lot of this economic activity and job growth is coming from. But we're still seeing people make decisions about their money because they don't have as much to spend on certain things. And so they're having to, I talk to people all the time and they're controlling when they go out because of the price of gas and the price of eggs, for example. So we're seeing a lot of pressures we saw in the late 70s. It's just we've had so much liquidity in this economy that the Fed's winding it down. That's when they really start getting serious about winding that balance sheet down. That's when we have potential for a recession.
All right. And then it's a question of how bad is that recession going to be?
Yeah, when you go back to the 70s and early 80s, when you and I both remember how it was then, we didn't have $30 trillion in national debt. And remember this, when interest rates go up, the amount of money needed to service the national debt goes up too. And that means that the government's crowding out private borrowers from the marketplace in a tighter lending marketplace. So we're going to see the downward pressure when that really all comes to fruition. Now, there will be some industries, as always, that will keep on going, but we're going to see some industries that are really hurt.
All right. So where do you think what industries will be hurt the worst besides real estate, construction, and all that?
Travel. I would think travel, and anybody who's flown lately, it's a nightmare. The cancellations. I used to love to travel and fly, and now I go because I have to. I go all over the place for conventions, and I've missed a few just because I didn't want to go. And so you got travel. People are taking their vacations closer to home, so you're going to see that industry hurt. Eventually, maybe even the food industry, the restaurant industry. But right now, people are they're excited about being able to go out again. So
I think novelty is going to wear off here.
Yeah, probably. And the car industry is going through massive changes because of this switch over to electric vehicles. And we don't know what's going to happen. How's it going to be 10 years from now when you need a part for a 2010, Nissan Rogue? Are they going to be available? I mean, we have that to shake out too.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'll buy it. So what's the solution here?
Well, the solution from your personal finances is, as I say quite often, invest conservatively, invest for income, try to get dividends, get rent on your money while it's there. I think that we look at say from 2009 all the way up to the end of 2021, we had quite a run up. But if you measure that whole 20-year period, the average return in the stock market was somewhere around 4.5%. So you had all those downturns, including COVID, two major downturns, and then COVID, and all you got was 4.5%. Well, if you can go get, just the other day, I saw a 4.25 15-month CD at a local bank. Now, if those stick around, then you're going to see people start to put their money in more safe instruments, and they're going to start moving out of the market. That's going to put downward pressure on the market. And they're already having that with all the people retiring and starting to withdraw money for their RMDs and to live on. So the stock market in itself is going to go through some changes there because they're going to adjust to the new cycles.
Mm-hmm. All right. So how much longer does this continue, or is this the new normal?
Don't just survive, thrive. The Financial Survival Network.
Osino Resources is a Ross Beatty-backed gold exploration company in mining-friendly Namibia. Osino's district-scale land package is situated near 2 producing gold mines, one of which Osino's management team previously developed and sold to B2 Gold. Osino's founders and management are experienced mining professionals who have already successfully developed and sold 2 companies in the past 7 years. Osino has an excellent shareholder base with Ross Beatty owning 20%, insiders 5%, and Resource Capital Funds 8%. This is an exploration company with drills turning that you'll definitely want to pay attention to. Osino trades in New York under the ticker OSIIF and in Toronto under the ticker OSI. To learn more, go to osinoresources.com. That's osinoresources.com.
This is the Financial Survival Network, the information you need to thrive now more than ever.
I hate to say this, it may be a new normal for a little while until people feel comfortable that our government is going to quit blowing money and spending it.
That's going to happen real fast, isn't it?
But, yeah, and they always make the comment about spending like a drunken sailor on shore leave, and hey, apologies to the sailor because at least he's spending his own money. But we're shacking up a lot of debt for my children and my grandchildren to keep things going, and
true.
That's not sustainable.
Mm-hmm. It's not sustainable, but are we going to have to be confronted with a disaster before our so-called leaders actually do something here?
Kerry, unfortunately, that's usually what happens. is if something bad happens and it causes people to reevaluate things. Now, let's hope that they do a better job than they did in 2009 when they started all that quantitative easing and drove our debt sky high. So we just have to hope that some adults get in the room in Congress, and I'm afraid I'm not real optimistic about that.
Yeah, the grown-ups coming back to town. I think that's a bridge too far, but I guess we're going to find out. So looking ahead for the coming year, let's just say the recession doesn't hit. What is going to happen then if we don't get a recession?
Well, we've seen the market go up pretty decent this first month of the year from January. And I think that'll probably continue. I think there'll be some ups and downs, and it'll be bumpy because just shaking out all this stuff and a lot of stuff going on in Europe. They're coming out of, from what I read, coming out of some of their negative interest rates. And the key is going to be, is the public going to be comfortable enough to spend their money, because we're a consumer driven economy. If people sit on their money and save it, which it makes more sense to do that now because they're getting paid more on their money to sit on it and save it, which is actually the foundation of a strong economy, is when you have a lot of savers.
Yeah,
because the money's
surplus,
there.
excess savings, right?
Exactly. And so maybe we'll shift back into that. And part of this change off will be that people start taking care of their financial house better.
But it sounds like a disaster for the consumption-based economy, though, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah. It's going to be a retooling. But we've been through retoolings before.
Yeah, well, hey, just imagine if we didn't have the war in Ukraine, the defense stocks would be completely depressed now, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would be. You don't even get me started on Ukraine. That's been a money laundering operation for quite a while.
Yeah, we know all about the nefarious things going on there, and all we can do is pray that it ends as quickly as possible, because it's an unmitigated disaster for the world. I don't even think you realize out there the negative long-term impacts for energy, the negative long-term impacts for food, and for global trade. All of it, none of it looks good here, does it, Brad?
No, and here we are sending all this money and these weapons to Ukraine. And my question is, are we keeping enough reserve in case China makes a move on Taiwan? If I were China, I'd sit and wait till I got word that we were at our lowest reserves, and I'd make the move then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you never know what's going to happen here. That's the one thing. This world is completely unpredictable, and you think one thing's going to happen and something else happens, right?
Yeah, and when you look at Taiwan, why that's so critical is the fact that most of the high-end chips that we use in industry come from there. And so without those chips, you don't have refrigerators and all kinds of other stuff. I mean, my wife got hit, and it ultimately totaled her car, but that was because of all kinds of electronic stuff in it. She got hit in late August, and they just totaled her car a month ago because they're waiting on chips. They're waiting on electronic parts to fix it. And then they finally got to the point where it was past that, whatever they determined, 75%. And they just went ahead and totaled it. But Taiwan is going to be critical. If Taiwan gets attacked, we could be in a global depression simply because you'd think the supply chain was bad now. Wait till you don't have any of those high-end chips.
I know. Hey, can you give us anything cheerful to look at here, Brad? You've been a little downcast today, you know?
Well, and I always keep we're a resilient country. We still have a lot of that entrepreneurial spirit. I'm seeing it more in the youth now than I did before, which is good, as I talk to my daughter and about her and her friends. And so these kids are starting to put more in their 401ks. That was one of the problems that would have been putting pressure on the stock market. So they're starting to become adults and do things. So I'm optimistic about the future. We just have to get through now.
All right. And yeah, it's always darkest before the light. Never forget that. I totally believe that. And I think you should too. Brad, how do we connect with you on the web? How do we find you? What website should we go to?
Well, you can find me at askbradwilliams.com. So if you have a financial question, you just ask Brad Williams.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, if you've got a question for Brad, shoot me an email, kl@kerrylutz.com. And while you're at it, go over to the site, financialsurvivalnetwork.com, and sign up for your free newsletter. Brad, appreciate you coming on. We'll talk to you again real soon.
It's always a pleasure, Kerry. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.